I just wanted to hop on here and just share a little bit about my inner state and knowing and feeling that somebody needs to hear exactly the process in which I'm, going through today. And, it's rainy here today. Yesterday was a really hard day for me emotionally, and maybe even spiritually. There was a lot of confusion that came up for me yesterday, and almost this urge to really bypass the pain that I was experiencing. The feeling of, what if it doesn't get better? What if this is the thing, what if the relationship that I let go of, was something that was meant to be part of my life, the second guessing, what if I actually need to be doing more, in my career right now to see the abundance that I'm pursuing, which the language, the verbiage that I'm even using, right, is from how I'm transmuting that. I look at it and it definitely still comes from a place of anxiety, or I don't want to say lack, but even in the ways that I'm having that dialogue with myself of, was this the right decision? And kind of like doubting myself and doubting the process and that I'm in right now, which this process that I'm in right now is one that is transformative. It is of transformation and it's of alchemy. And that's something I know about myself inherently is I am an alchemist. I like the magician in the tarot deck, it very much gives that energy of anytime I've experienced loss, setbacks, disappointment, frustration, confusion, sometimes even the self-worth isn't there that day. I look at who I am now, in 2026, and I think about the version of myself that existed, back when I awakened to this journey that I was on, even in 2022. And that was like really when I awakened to the portal, of information and just understanding myself as an individual, not just in 3D, but as this spirit and soul that is abundant, that is expansive, ever evolving, loving, and filled with knowledge and filled with information that I truly believe intuitively that a lot of people in the collective need to hear. And, just considering where I was a few years ago, it was a version of me that very much still was looking for validation. As hard as that is to even say, like I was looking for validation in my purpose, in my worth. And, this past relationship that I was in, it really showed me the blind spots where I felt that I was acting in alignment with inherently, the highest version of myself. But there were so many spots where that wasn't the case, where I was actually existing in a state where I really needed that external validation. And there is nothing wrong with needing validation, whether that's emotionally, like just to have your experiences be affirmed. There's nothing wrong with that inherently, right? Like we, as humans, we are meant for co-regulation. I do believe that affirmation can be a very potent form of connecting with someone. And I know that about myself. I know, I'm a Leo moon, so I can be very expressive in my emotions. I'm very bold with how I express. And I know my emotions, and I am very loyal and devoted to my emotions and my inner world. However, that version of me also comes with, when I am in relation with other people, I want to validate their experiences, but I also want my experiences to be very much validated. And that was something that was pointed out to me in my last relationship. And, ultimately, that need could not be fully nurtured in the way that I needed it to. However, it doesn't mean that the person I was with did everything wrong. It doesn't mean that they were this horrible person that just, brushed my feelings to the side and didn't give any regard to what I was going through. That's absolutely not the truth. And the truth of it is that we grew a lot as souls, as individuals in that relationship together. And something that, I'm taking away from that relationship is sometimes I do get in blind spots, or I did, where I was investing, almost overly investing into the relationship instead of investing that energy back into myself and my purpose. And, even towards the end of that relationship, I very much knew that I was not using the relationship, but kind of like using it as a way to avoid doing the work to put in towards my purpose. And it was a very painful revelation. And, the more that became clear to me, the more my 3D reality reflected this conflict that I was having internally, where I very much wanted and needed that validation. However, it was not being given in the way that I needed it. It wasn't aligned. And I think there became moments, a lot of them, where I was looking at the person and I'm like, you need to evolve into this, you need to evolve into this person that can validate me in the ways that I need. And if you can't, then, we can't grow together. Without being able to take a step back and really see that, okay, this isn't this person's way of being in a relationship. This is not how they, look to love, and so I have nothing but the utmost reverence for my ex and that person. He is a wonderful person. I wish him nothing but all the success and the love and happiness, because he truly does deserve that. And I know that I deserve that for myself too. And I've had to really come to accept that you can love somebody and let them go on their journey and be who they need to be. And you can be that person for yourself too. And so that's what I've been committing to doing. And the way that I feel internally, and just knowing that I am the alchemist, I am the, soul and the person that is going to bring me everything that I need. And I think I've just been more deeply aligning and committing to this version of myself that not only has everything that she wants, but that will be so influential and impactful, and just showing up in my authentic truth. That is really the highest vibration, and that's what I want to commit to focusing on this year. And not just this year, but if we're looking at it in timelines, yes, like this is going to be my year where I fully, wholeheartedly commit to that. But this is also, the start of me planting new seeds. And I know someone needs to hear this right now. There's someone that is at the precipice of something new. And you're clinging so hard to that 3D, that old version of yourself that is already dying out, is on kind of like your last gasp of life, and that's because when you go to take in that final, or go to exhale that final breath, you're going to take in a new breath. And you're going to do the thing that scares you the absolute most. And it's going to be something in your life that is so important to you that you are so uncomfortable with the idea of letting it go. But you're going to have to, because that thing is what is keeping you from you in your entirety, in all the love and abundance and vibrational frequency that you really need to step into this next version of yourself. And it's the most aligned version of yourself. Take it one day at a time. Take a deep breath with me right now. Trust that knowing. Trust whatever, you just felt in your body. Trust whatever, if there was any stillness, right? That is a glimpse of what is to come for you. It's not going to be easy. You're still going to have to show up as a human. Like, we are very much living a human experience. So it's not always going to be easy. It will be downright hard some days, and there will be days where you, like, the idea of giving up is very enticing, and going back to those old ways is very magnetic and pulling you. Remember what you committed to. Remember that good things take time, that it is a whole process. Think about planting a new flower, or think about, planting a seed and knowing that that flower is going to develop. However, sometimes things have to develop in the dark, right? Under all that soil, the roots have to grow, in the soil. And the bloom is on its way, but you cannot rush the process, the conditions that it needs to have in order for that bloom to, unfold and develop. So you are in a process of alchemizing, you are in a process of transmuting, and your outcome is going to be exactly what you need. And it's okay if you don't know what you need right now. You don't have to know exactly what you need. That's why you're giving yourself the space to learn exactly what you need. Because once you can identify that a desire exists, it's already there for you. You just have to continue to exist in alignment with yourself. And when fear creeps in, just remember that that is a version of yourself that you no longer align to. I truly believe that you can do it. We're going to do it together. If any of my thoughts resonated with you, or not really even thoughts, they're true feelings. I feel that somebody needs to hear this right now. So if any of this is resonating, you can follow along with me. I would love for you to leave a comment and let me know about how your journey has been going. And continue to seek that community. This can be a safe space for you. This community can be for you to have not all the answers, to be in this process of becoming and unfolding. That is where the real beauty lies, because that is where all the fertile, soil is. You're existing in that right now. And that's basically like a blank canvas. So yeah, I feel really good about where this year is going to take us. So I'm wishing you peace for today, hope for tomorrow, and joy and love in the now. And I will talk to you really soon.